diversity and inclusion from a very different realm. And somehow I'm glad that I come after Marlies because she has really paved the way for this talk. And especially with how she said that the regular structures have now been disrupted, which is true. When we think of diversity and inclusion, we only think of face-to-face interactions. But if we really think about it, which social media platform has more than 1 billion users and is growing every day?
Facebook.
Facebook. So what I'm going to talk right now is not about how we live and breathe diversity and inclusion, but this is more of how we also experience diversity and inclusion within our phones, within the social media. Facebook as a social media platform is revolutionizing the way we do business. Perhaps the question is why? Why is that so? If you think about it, with Facebook being so global, being so worldwide, it has opened the doors for even small businesses to reach their intended audience. You can profile your business with Facebook pages. You can build your online communities with Facebook groups. And with 1 billion plus people growing each day, how can you not leverage that for your visibility or engagement in your intended audience? So Facebook, as a social media platform, is really changing the way that we do business. But the question now that rises from this is, how do we use this platform and think of it as a way to leverage our business for success, but to also consider the diversity that happens within the Facebook community? I would like to know from the audience, who among you are members of Facebook groups? An addict, even an addict. And who is an administrator or moderator? So there's quite a lot of show of hands. So what I'm saying right now is something not very new to people in the room. And this is where the question, when I was thinking about this topic of inclusion and diversity, this is where the question comes in. How do we encourage inclusion and diversity within the groups that we are forming? I'm reading a book right now called Tribal Leadership by Dave Logan. And he said that to leverage, we need to leverage the natural groups to build thriving organizations and businesses. And this is what Facebook online communities does. It leverages our platform, it makes it a platform for our message. But the question that somehow, from my experience running She Dares, we're small, so we started very small, but we're now to almost 700 women in the group. And we start, in that sense, we've started 3-4 months ago. In my experience, in looking at the engagement and visibility in the group, there were quite a lot of questions, that comes across when, one, if the message is contradictory to your culture. So in She Dares, we talk about self-acceptance, money, and the last part, sexuality. And whenever we have a post on sexuality, you can expect that there would be differences within the comments. Just recently, I think it was just yesterday, one of the moderators in the Facebook group posted something which is just, have you ever looked at your vagina? And you can instantly see, from other posts, if it's about self-acceptance, oh, there's quite a lot of this and that happening. And when that post was hit, it was just silence. It was silence. And this is a group intended for women. This is a group intended for women, and we have a very clear message that the topics that we're talking about is about sexuality, self-acceptance, and money. But when the talks about sexuality happens, silence ensures. And if there is, there would be, in most cases, there would be comments like, oh, but in our culture, we don't do that, or we don't even talk about that, or it's not even something that we explore. So looking at how Facebook communities are growing and developing, I would like to share, 3 strategies that we see is working in terms of visibility, leveraging, and at the same time looking at inclusion. One is to be clear with your message. Identify what is the theme, what are the themes, what are the core themes that you're talking about, and at the same time also address how can you address conflicts within that theme. Because again, even though it's a Facebook, it's a Facebook community, it doesn't mean that everybody would agree to your opinion. As a moderator, as an administrator, or as a creator of the group, expect that there would be diversity. And when that diversity happens, what do you do with your group? How do you allow for diversity to flourish, and in that sense to continue the communication? So like with that post on that post from one of the moderators, immediately I was like, oh, this is really confronting, So I just started, and then it started also with other women saying that yes, for them it was also something very confronting. But there is that vulnerability in an online space. And the next strategy that we're looking at is to use the Facebook communities as a platform for the we voice instead of the me voice. As you can, for those who are moderating Facebook communities, it's your platform, it's your baby. But somehow, to grow the community, grow it as a collaborative platform where different voices are heard, where different voices are acknowledged. And by this, it also encourages them to share their vulnerabilities, to share their ideas, to share their opinions. And it makes your community a safe space for them to go back to. It becomes their space, not just yours. And by opening it as a collaborative platform, invite other people in to ask, to do your post, to get the interactions going. At She-Dares, we have daily ambassadors that gives the post. And these are women in different parts of the globe who shares their ideas about these 3 topics. And lastly, always give value. If you think of Facebook communities as leveraging visibility, leveraging engagement, and promoting diversity, think of it as what value are you giving back to the community? Now, what is it that they are coming back for? And when you can answer that, that we are giving this support for women, that we are giving this community for women, then this is what this is what you can say as the value that they can get by joining or by being part of it. And like what I said, there would always be conflicts, there would always be differences within Facebook online communities. But the question is, are we even leveraging it? Are we using it to our advantage? And that is why I use this opportunity now to talk about the importance of having Facebook communities. And my challenge for you today is when you go out, when you look at your Facebook groups, when you look at your Facebook communities, think of it as, what is the value that I'm getting from this? Why is it that it's a space that is including me or making me collaborate with them? And if for those who are not yet part of the group or have not yet started their group, perhaps this is something to identify. With 1 billion users per day and growing, Facebook communities is definitely one of the areas where we can leverage diversity and inclusion. And I do hope that we can also get the discussion in there. So thank you.